Hello again and welcome to Unit 1. Thank you so much for listening to my welcome video, and now you'll be introduced to this first week's assignments. Rest assured that each week the format of our assignments will look like this. I'll have a welcome to Unit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 video that explains what we're going to be doing for the week. I will also include the course objectives just to keep those in mind. Again, I say that's really important that we sort of conform and think about why we're doing what we're doing and how what we're doing sort of impacts and sort of assures that we're achieving some of these goals along the way. But not only do I want to focus on our course objectives for this particular 8 weeks, I want to know a little bit more about you. Of course, I want to know a lot more about you. I want to know about your writing and your reading practices. I want to know what you yourself want to accomplish during these next 8 weeks. What do you want to get out of this class, and how can I help you get there? So this first week is going to serve as this kind of introduction both to your peers, because there are 22 of us, but also an introduction to some of your reading and writing strengths and weaknesses. What can we continue to sharpen, and what can we work on to improve? This week's initial inventory is working as the following. The first thing I'm really excited for you to work on this week is to create a short reflection on your reading processes. To do that, I've taken some different strategies. This one I've made myself, but using a Google form you can type directly into here. I'd like you to answer a few questions about your reading processes. Please include your email address and then answers to the following. So which types of academic text do you prefer reading, so on and so forth. And there's maybe 10 questions throughout. You can also click send me a copy of my responses so that you have an idea of what you've answered and to use this material for the further and future projects this week in this class. The second inventory I'd like you to take is a reflection on your, you've guessed it, writing processes. And so please go through this one. I've actually adapted from the authors of The Curious Writer, Bruce Ballinger, who has sort of come up with some questions for writers about the different processes that they use. And so this kind of breaks apart some of the things that you might want to articulate about your own writing processes and experiences already. So after completing those two, please submit your responses. And I'd like to kind of see, it'll be really great to have all of this data acquired and in range for sort of some larger conclusions about what we can work on as both a section and as an individual. Each week, you're also going to have a collaborative reading project. And so one of the things I'm working on in a current publication is the ways in which we can use Google Docs, the ways in which we can rethink online reading in really positive ways. And so in that book I mentioned earlier in the introduction by Marianne Wolf, she talks about the real physicality of reading from a book versus reading from a screen. Also the sort of spatial awareness that's very much different on a screen than if you're reading in a sort of print text. Those are just two of the very initial kinds of things that she notices that are different, that how we read differently online than we do from a textbook, for example, or from a book, a physical paper book. And so what I think is really interesting, she says, this idea that the way we read online very quickly and skimming transfers over to anything else that we're reading. So whether it's something that's longer, lengthier, more complex, we're going to read it similarly because we're using the internet, which is, something that we use for skimming and for finding really quick information. And so I want to really resist the urge to be reading through things very quickly, to kind of skimming. And in order to do that, we're going to have a collaborative document here that we'll click on, and I'll show you in just a minute. And when you read, you're not going to be reading alone. We're going to have specific placeholders throughout the text that you yourself can make and to comment upon. Also, it'll allow you to see what others are thinking about the text. So when you open this Google Doc, make sure to click Open with Google Docs. Again, log into your Google account so that I know when you make a comment that it's from you. If you don't log in, it'll just say anonymous for a comment. But one of the things we're going to be doing is reading select essays through Google Doc collaboratively. So for this first exercise, please have completed the 2 Google forms above. And using this question to guide your reading, I would like you to make 2 comments in this essay as you read. In what ways has your technology impacted your ability to read deeply and write carefully, critically by internet technology? So in what ways are you finding that some of your reading and writing practices are maybe indirectly or directly impacted, positively or negatively, through internet use? By Wednesday, please leave 2 meaningful comments in this Google Doc that reflect on any aspect of reading or writing practices and your own abilities to read deeply and compose carefully and critically. Now, how do you make a comment in a Google Doc? And there's lots of different ways that you can sort of manipulate the text and sort of feel free to kind of define things for your peers, make quick comments. But the 2 comments that I'd like you to compose will be more substantial, 3 or 4 sentences at least that sort of analyze what you're reading. But to make a comment, simply click and highlight a passage, right click, and click on comment, and it'll add a comment here. Please feel free to type your responses however you'd like. And once you make your particular comment, there'll also be a function for those of you who are reading the comments to reply. So I'm sure you can guess that then by Friday, I would like you to read back through this essay and select one peer comment to respond to. This reply should include more than just an utterance like "I agree" or "so true," and please avoid just copying other responses or copying other comments, but think about a thoughtful and reflective way, even pose a question for a peer as a very genuine, personalized response. I'm sure all of you will do this anyway. And for full points, be sure again that you're logged into your Google account when you open up this document so that these comments are labeled with your particular name rather than sort of anonymous, which sometimes happens. I'm really excited to work on these readings with you in this particular formatting. The next and final, perhaps most exciting part for this week is creating your e-portfolio. So again, we're going to be working within Blackboard, but there are some things outside of Blackboard that we can do a little bit better and sort of more crafted and creative. So what you're going to do is to create a website for yourself, which we'll refer to as a portfolio or e-portfolio using your new Google Sites Builder. A really great website. So you can click here. I'll show you what it'll look like. So I already have a few different Google sites. You might have already used this. If you haven't, click on the blank option and you'll begin to open a new website. We'll use this portfolio to write, create, and collect about the semester as the semester progresses, but for now, all you need to do is create the site and build an introductory About Me page. And so this page is going to be presented to you and your peers so that the rest of us can know who you are. We can get to know a little bit more about you and kind of put a face to the name. You can choose any design template you want, but your introduction should include the following. So you'll create About Me, and then include a short paragraph introducing yourself and any relevant pictures, one of you, and anything else that you'd like to help us better connect with you. You could include a song, you could include a picture of some artwork that you've created. Feel free to include whatever kinds of images in addition to your sort of picture of yourself that you'd like to share. This is your opportunity to let us know who you are and sort of what excites you about life. And so to do that, feel free to add text boxes, images, you can embed things, and here are different kinds of layouts that you can use. In addition to creating some information that introduces us to you in terms of pictures and dialogue, I'd also like you to do something else. I'd like you to add a 250 to 300 word reflection on your reading and writing processes, using those findings that you gathered from your Google form answers. So what you're going to do is consider some of the following questions. Again, please don't just sort of answer these questions one by one. That's by no means what I'm hoping for. But kind of think about these questions as a sort of guide for you, what you might be able to talk about in terms of the findings of your inventories, of your writing processes and reading practices inventories. So summarize your strengths and weaknesses, what struck you most about what you've noticed about your own processes. Are these patterns in the responses? Are there interesting contradictions? What kinds of learning strategies will you have? What kinds of support will you need to make those strategies work? Which strategies have been effective or ineffective in the past? At the very end, I'd like you to list 3 goals you would like to accomplish for your writing and reading self over the next 8 weeks. So this way we have a sense of what we're going to work on as a class, but also some personal goals I think will be really helpful in assuring that you get everything that you need from this class. Lastly, and feel free to put this wherever you want on your About Me page, include a favorite quote from Nicholas Carr's Is Google Making Us Stupid? And so I think what'll be interesting about all of these profiles, of course, is that you'll each pick something probably vastly different, but also something that will represent who you are, something that we can tell will be a response that's specific to you. So all of these directions here explain exactly what to do and how to create your page. The one thing that you're going to do after you create this Google site is to bring it back to Blackboard. And how do you do that? We're going to use a discussion board as a house for sort of some of these pages. So what you're going to do is please follow these instructions. After you've created your page, you'll click Publish, and you'll publish your site. And then it shows you here at the upper right corner. It'll save your work automatically, and then once you click the URL for publish, you can post the link. Make sure you post the site link, not a link to have someone edit your site. And you're going to copy and paste that site link to simply click here, up at the top here, this underlined black title. It's going to take us to our discussion board. You're going to create a thread. And all you have to do is create a subject. It can just be, about me, something like that. And you'll copy and paste the link to your portfolio site page. And that's all you have to do is click submit. And then you'll see a whole bunch of students, 22 of you, will also have links to your sites. And so please create that particular site by Wednesday. And then by Friday, I would like to see some responses. I'd like you to look at each of your peer sites. You can feel free to look at more than just one of your peer sites, but I'm actually going to be grading that you look at five other peers out of the 22. Again, you have till the end of the day on Wednesday and the end of the day Friday as our 2 sort of different turn-in points. By the end of the day on Wednesday, please have your ePortfolio created, the first page for it, and have that link for the portfolio added to our discussion board. By Friday, please go back into Blackboard through our discussion board and click on 5 peer Google sites. And I'd like you to reply to those posts, 5 other posts, by clicking into them, and you will see a reply button. And again, the replies in the first week need only be a few sentences, and I'll try to specify each week what I'm looking for in terms of responses, interactions, and considerations of other peers' ideas. This is going to be a fantastic class, and I'm really excited to start seeing some of the reading and writing practices that evolve, as well as the ones that are ready-made, embedded in sort of what you bring to this class already, which is a whole bunch. And so I'm looking forward to reading about your goals. I'm looking forward to learning a bit more about you, and I'm looking forward to seeing how you interact with one another. Thanks for listening, and have a great week. Please don't hesitate to email me with any questions.